Within the alien universe exists a large amount of synthetic humanoid androids.
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
These synthetic life forms are, at their very core, robotic, biomechanical humanoids designed to serve the needs of humanity. They have been created to adhere to humanity's whim, and are used to complete many countless tasks and functions. All of this technological achievement was reached in the mindset that human error could be completely removed from a large majority of situations, allowing for a better and more efficient worker, and for the employer or the owner to have complete control over that being. So today we will be looking into the history of synthetics in the alien universe and take a quick look at all the various forms they can take. The very first synthetic model was developed by the Weyland Corporation in the year 2025, at the great intrigue of Sir Peter Weyland, with the Maverick paving the technological road all the way up until this moment. This android was affectionately named David by Weyland, as a homage to a name that he had reserved for his own human son. The David series android was a massive success. With the first David model, people for the first time could experience an indistinguishable replication of the human form within a machine. However, while the shell was indistinguishable, the personality or the AI driving it left much to be desired, and so the David model saw many continuous updates over the years to perfect this flaw. Patent 9,158,239 was granted to Weyland Industries for an advanced polyurethane compound capable of almost perfectly replicating the biological features and texture of human skin, which occurred in the following year, which led to the David Model 2 in 2028. By 2029, a long-running patent lawsuit between Weyland and the rival company Yutani over the android David is settled in Weyland Corporation's favour, and after government restrictions on the use of androids in specific industries were lifted, the David model would see itself superseded another 7 times, until eventually the David 8 model was created. This model, which was the most human-like of all the models in the series, was released just prior to when the US CSS Prometheus embarked on its journey to LV-223 in 2089, using the project as a massive marketing plan to push the David 8 model as their greatest model yet. The David 8s possessed advanced emotional processing and abstract thought patterns, with both of these qualities making them an amazing feat of human engineering and scientific knowledge, but also a potential danger due to the particular model being known to be too human. This was due to the fact that they could form their own opinions, ideas, and they could even rebel if their personality diverged enough from their human owners. They could even harm others and were allowed to create. And thus the Walter 1 line of synthetics was released, with this series being an answer to the David 8 problems. The Walter 1s could perform all the same duties and more, and were seen as much more comfortable to be around. While they possessed the ability to think outside the box, they could not physically act on these thoughts. And while they were more like machines in this sense, it revitalized the public's opinions on androids and led to a boom in their integration into society and industry. Much like the David 8 model, the Walter 1s released in the year 2104, coinciding with the launch of another interstellar craft. In this case, it was the US CSS Covenant colony ship, which was the largest colony ship ever constructed, and was venturing out to a record distance into deep space. It was the perfect marketing scheme. Other synthetics were first developed by Borger Industries around 2030, shortly after their inception by Weyland Industries. The early Ulysses models were hulking bipedal constructs, more closely resembling a mechanical robot than a synthetic human, although they did feature a humanoid driver at their core. They were widely employed by the Neonopolis Police Department and often used as riot suppression as well as in private security ventures. After the dawn of the 22nd century, Hyperdyne, a subsidiary company owned by the new Weyland-Yutani megacorporation, begun their own specialized android types, turning the art of synthetic creation into industry practice. Many Hyperdyne model androids were produced, some in the lines with identical traits such as the Bishop models, and others with more customizable features in terms of their physical appearance, personality, and their voice modulation. One example of this kind of android was Ash, a Hyperdyne 2/A model, and in this case was designed to act as a sleeper agent for the Weyland-Yutani company during their attempts to procure a Xenomorph from LV-426. After this, other corporations such as the Seegson Corporation were able to manufacture a much more basic form of synthetic. These were known as working Joes, and featured notably lower tech in their construction, with this being actually intentional to both drive down costs and to make them easily differentiable from humans, as almost a mirrored concept to the Weyland synthetics. Eventually, much later in the timeline, a second generation of synthetics, basically synthetics created by synthetics, were designed in an attempt to revolutionize the industry. But machines created by machines were sure to be anything but bland. And bland they were not. Instead, they achieved a new level of artificial sentience, which led to an attempt by these new synthetics, known as the Autons, to violently uprise, and as a direct result, all synthetics were subsequently deemed illegal. A mass recall resulted from these events, which led to the synthetics as a whole becoming virtually extinct, out of fear from humanity of a complete robot uprising. However, a handful of synthetics did survive, including the Autons, and concealed their identity in order to integrate themselves completely into human society and save themselves from extermination. Synthetics themselves come in many models and have been designed to fit many countless professions and jobs for which they can be implemented in. Synthetics are far stronger, much faster, and can prove to be more coordinated individuals over their human counterparts. Though synthetics are a form of artificial intelligence in the broad sense, legally they are classified as property. However, their usefulness and not inconsiderable unit cost served as a deterrent to anyone who wished to treat the android as expendable. Although an android's appearance would seem to be some kind of unneeded and unimportant feature, it has both its positive and negative sides. Most synthetics adhere to looking indiscernible from their human counterparts, which is, for most people, a much more desirable experience, as the majority of people feel more comfortable interacting with other people, a feature and biological trait embedded into the psychology of humans. However, while these people were in the majority, that did in fact leave a niche open for synthetics like the Working Joes, who were deliberately designed to look inhuman, or more like a robot, for the purpose of machines simply being machines. While there is a plethora of advantages to androids, there are still plenty of factors on the downside. While an android might be physically stronger than a normal human, they can actually be far less durable at times, and can be relatively easily damaged compared to other forms of technology. While this fact is mostly true for human-like androids, specialized industrial android models, such as the industrial-grade Working Joes, were designed with a bit more cash in hand, and were able to withstand stuff such as large levels of damage, as well as high electrical currents and hydrostatic shocks. They can also withstand being exposed to dangerous and volatile chemicals that would be far too hazardous for people to handle themselves. Most androids are constructed using a carbon fiber chassis. The chassis is constructed much like a human endoskeleton, in order to create a similar attachment point system for the artificial muscular structures. The downside to this structure is that it is too similar to humans. The muscular and connective tissues are still required to support the unstable skeletal frame of the android. Just like a human, constant gyrostabilization feedback and reactions will allow the synthetic to remain upright and maintain its balance. Now, while androids' internal support and motion components can remain functional for a very long time if not pushed to their limits, it is ideal to overhaul and make regular maintenance efforts on them in order to keep the android functioning at peak performance. These artificial muscular synth tissues are often created from silicon colloids and can be either driven by electrical impulses similar to bioorganic tissues, or can alternatively be driven by complex microhydraulics. At the beginning of the industry, the first androids would need repairs every few weeks, to days even at a time, if they were under great operational stress. However, this problem was eventually rectified. The substance known as the circulatory fluid is a form of white liquid latex and is utilized in order to lubricate their internal systems, keeping their artificial muscles, connective tissues, and endoskeletal structures in optimal working order for a much more extended period. The fluid also doubles as a coolant system for the internals of the synthetic, allowing excess heat to be removed from very important components in the androids, such as the CPU located within the skull. The power supply for the android is supplied by a 25 kilowatt hydrogen fuel cell with a life of approximately 400 days between refueling. However, this number varies from model to model and can be largely determined by the cost and type of synthetic. The power cell is located within the android's chest and is accessible via a hidden socket located underneath the rib cage. While charging times can vary, it usually takes about 24 to 72 hours to fully charge the standard power cells fitted into modern day androids from 0 to 100%. Now, while we can generally consider androids to be much more intelligent than a regular human, that is not always the case, and sometimes it is simply the fact that they can recall near unlimited information that makes them appear intellectually superior to most humans. Most androids seen from the 21st to 22nd century were fitted with an even more advanced form of integrated carbon-60 processor brain, or CPU, with a processing speed of 1015 floating point operations per second and a memory capacity that sat at around 1 terabyte of fast cache buffer RAM and 1.2 petabytes of non-volatile memory. These advanced systems allow for the logical driver of the synthetic to make decisions based upon collected and imported sensory data, information drawn from experience, and the android's vast inbuilt database from both first-hand and second-hand interpreted information. First-hand data being ones that they have discovered for themselves, and second-hand being that which they were provided from their manufacturer or owner. Intuitive functions are derived from a suite of nested contextual and semantic programs linked by self-mapping loops of tangled hierarchies. However, an android's ability to understand and process abstract concepts and symbolism, while that is powerful, it is also very limited, whereas the creativity of a human mind reaches a much more superior state in this fashion. While Wayland were able to create abstract thought processes in their later David models, it was quickly removed out of the uncanny and uncomfortable nature these models presented in their willingness to show disdain for their own creators. A synthetic's mind and personality essentially is a construct, and there is no true self-awareness as such. Though this may not be apparent to an untrained observer interacting with a unit or to an android that believes it themselves. Androids designed for close social interactions with humans are able to eat, drink, and defecate, do all the normal human things that would make them seem human, though they gain no nutrients from this, from any food they consume. Food and drink are broken down in an artificial stomach cavity, and the resulting liquid is expelled via a retractable catheter, or if the model is fitted with the synthetic's system of genitalia, like a fake set, it is released in that fashion. Some synthetics possess genitalia for the purposes of pleasuring their owners, and so the system is able to kill two birds with one stone, so to say. Obviously, as a synthetic does not breathe, they also do not require an atmosphere, oxygen, or any stable pressures in order to survive. However, extreme cold or heated environments can either freeze or bake their electronic components and their circulatory fluids, leading to their deactivation. While they easily withstand no pressure environments, high pressure environments can still result in them being crushed until deactivation occurs. Corrosive environments will also have about the same effect on a traditional android as it would a human. An interesting fact of synthetics is that they in the alien universe have some level of invisibility or immunity to xenomorph attacks and encounters. When encountering a synthetic, most of the time the xenomorph will simply observe the android as though it is part of the environment and not a living organism or potential host or even a threat. Now, while they can at times be treated this way by the xenomorphs, there are also times when they are attacked. To understand this circumstance, it is important to note that the only reason a xenomorph will attack an android is when it is either going out of its way to threaten the creature or its hive, or the android is simply an obstacle in the xenomorph's path. We have seen examples of this with Bishop and the alien queen in the film Aliens, when she attacks him due to him being between her and her duel with Ripley. In Alien Covenant, David is able to be in the presence of a protomorph, with it being completely docile around him. Likewise, during the wheat field attack during Covenant, the Neomorphs never directly attacked Walter until he himself attacks one of them, attempting to save crewmember Daniels of the Covenant in the process. A few great examples of synthetics being left completely alone when not a threat is both in Aliens Isolation and Resurrection. In Isolation, Working Joes are all but a curiosity to the Xenomorphs. They are never seen to be attacked by a Xenomorph, as those specific Working Joes were given orders to protect the Xenomorph from harm and were in no way a threat. In Resurrection, we see Anil Kaul, a synthetic known as an Onton, fall into a large pool of water and is surrounded by cloned Xenomorphs. However, they don't take any notice of her, and nor do they attempt to pursue her. So why does this occur then? Well, we do have a few canon answers and also a bit of speculation on the topic. The most obvious reason for the synthetics not being a direct target for the Xenomorph would at least partially be due to their inability to be collected and used as hosts for more Chestbursters. And so they are given little interest. But then why does the Xenomorph not just destroy these androids outright, considering that the Xenomorph does not really take any potential threat lightly? This no aggression attitude may be more than just simply that they have no use to the creatures. Instead, synthetics may not actually be able to be detected directly by Xenomorph. In the Aliens novelization, android Bishop, whilst crawling through the ducting system of the colony uplink tower, is attacked midway by a Xenomorph that sensed his movements. However, after Bishop froze and remained still, the creature quickly lost interest and retreated. From this, Bishop was able to postulate that the Xenomorphs may have trouble discerning exactly what an android is, and often mistake them for simple technology, machinery, or part of the environment. This could be for a few reasons. We don't know the exact number or type of sensors a Xenomorph has, and we could take a guess and say that at least some part of their detection of living organisms has to do with scent or some kind of pheromone, or some other kind of biological byproduct of a living organism that would be absent in androids. On top of this, at least part of the Xenomorph vision or sensory detection system may rely on movement, and so if an android remains still, becoming all but invisible to the creature. It is not known whether a facehugger would attack as synthetic, or if it could successfully implant an embryo. Now, whilst I think the implantation process would fail, I do think that the facehugger may still go for the synthetic potentially, and if so, it would be a quite effective way for someone to get their hands on the creature without putting a human in harm's way. Synthetics are a massive part of the alien universe. They have so many factors that make them both better and worse at certain feats, more useful in certain areas and less so in others. Despite their drawbacks, they have become an integral part of human society by the time of the later films, with them even being able to gain their own level of sentience and becoming creators upon the birth of the Auton race. While there are fears of the androids eventually uprising to dominance over organic life, one thing is for sure: they are here. There is no way around that fact. Artificial intelligence exists, and it is beginning to create, and there is no going back from that. Before I go, I just wanted to let you guys know about the merch store called Acheron's Colonial Marketplace. Here you can pick up a variety of Acheron and alien themed merch from 3 distinct product lines, including shirts, hoodies, mugs, blankets, stickers, bags, and even phone cases. So if you want to support the channel and look good doing it, pick up some Acheron merch. But what other videos would you guys like to see? If you have any ideas or have any questions you would like answered, please meet me down in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like and go check out Project Acheron on Twitter and Discord. If you want to support me further, you can become a patron where you can get access to early and behind the scenes content, the monthly and Alien Day giveaways, as well as the patron only engraved set of items. I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Until then, this is Project Acheron, signing off.